Today, joining me is Cara Leopardo. She's the founder and CEO of We the Studios. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Pleased to be here.
So, we've seen a lot happening in the entertainment industry, especially throughout COVID. And I've heard that a lot of changes have been happening in that industry. Now, you're a longtime veteran in the industry. Can you share a little bit about your background and how you got started?
I have a really unique story. I moved to Hollywood for school, and I simply wanted a desk job. And I stopped waitressing, found a desk job at a studio. Was never interested in Hollywood. Was never creative other than art class, and literally fell into the business and fell in love with the business. I was instantly hooked. I had a great experience, really great people around me, which really guides me to my faith because Hollywood could be a really dangerous place for a young woman. And I really had really great people around me initially in my career. So I wanted a desk job. I started as an assistant. I didn't even know what an assistant was or what she would do, but that's really the best place to start because you're touching every single aspect of production. And I just was hungry for more and more. There wasn't a day that was too long for me. Typical day, start at 8 a.m., leave at midnight. And that was no thing because I just loved it so much. So I started in casting, commercials, print music videos, worked my way up to general manager. Then I was headhunted and became a CEO and COO of another casting company. And from there, I launched my own production company with the time my fiance, who ultimately became my husband, is my husband to date. And I just it's one of those businesses where either you know about it from day one and you want to do it, or if you put your toe in it, you will fall in love with it. It's probably one of the greatest joys other than my husband and kids, to be honest.
That's cool. Now, you were in California when you kind of began. Okay. And
Yes.
so that's where the scene is really big. And I'm sure, like, from where you started back, whenever, like, when did you start in the industry? Like,
So
around.
I started in 96. We were
Okay.
not even digitizing yet. We were still casting on three-quarter tapes, which a lot of people listening probably don't know what that is. We were physically shipping the tapes to the production companies and the ad companies overnight. People were still faxing resumes. People were still dropping off printed headshots. We would come to stacks of 8 feet tall, 3 feet wide of headshots every single morning. So I really got to see the evolution of the business, from the agendas all the way down to the technology growing. When I left casting, we started uploading content and we were calling it iCasting. We thought we were so creative with that. It really transformed, and I feel blessed to have been part of it when it was, that was the same way they were casting Marilyn Monroe. You would call the casting agent, hey, I need somebody with blonde hair and blue eyes and a purple shirt. And if you had it, you had it. And if you didn't, you didn't. And you just would, pound the phones, pound the phone. So it was really cool to learn the business from that perspective, from doing the work versus currently you're just typing it in and it just will populate through technology. So I feel blessed to have started at the time that I did. And it really guided me to where I'm at currently in my career.
Yeah, back in those days, I do remember too. I don't know if I think they heard that they're not really doing this too much anymore. It was like the live casting calls where you have like 50 people coming in to audition and you're standing in line and waiting to be called up.
Cattle call. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly what we did. We probably had conservatively anywhere between 250 to thousands of people every single day coming through our doors for a variety of projects. We would do 5 to 6 projects at a time. A slow day would be three. So if it was three castings in one day, that would easily be 900 people in a day coming through, from 9 o'clock in the morning all the way till 7 o'clock at night. You would have your models come later because they could never be on time. And you would have your gentlemen come earlier because the guys could, for some reason, show up, do their hair, and they would show up at 9 for us. But yeah, it was back in the old days, the cattle calls, the casting studios, seeing the people. It was a really amazing time in Hollywood. It really was.
And now fast forward, here we are, we went through the COVID. I heard that changed a lot of things. What are some of the things that you've seen that are changing, for the good and for the bad?
So I hope that it can be corrected with platforms like We the Studios, but currently I think everybody is seeing this is, in my opinion, it shouldn't be political, but there is definitely an agenda, a progressive agenda to expose children to things that are not appropriate for children. And then maybe lifestyle choices that are completely fine for an adult and most adults don't care about. But do we want our children who can't count yet and can't name all the colors in the rainbow exposed to sexual preferences? So I think a lot of the things that you're seeing in Hollywood currently, and President Trump has talked about it, that we're losing business to other countries. And maybe they're saying that's because of productivity or technology. From my perspective, it's because of the content that we're creating here in America. We are creating content in Hollywood that is progressive and that's agenda riddled that Americans don't want for their kids, for their children. Now, an adult, that's another story. So I think that's something really negative. I'm trying to look at it positive and say, how can I offer a solution to that problem? And that's what we're doing at We the Studios, offering content free of an agenda, no propaganda, just normal TV, probably what we grew up on. So yeah, that's really where we're at today. There's agenda riddled television. I think everybody sees it. You get to episode 3, you're like 1 and 2, I love this, and you get to 3, you're like, oh, here we go, here it is.
Yeah.
Can't watch it anymore. I'm done.
I have been there with my daughter. I have a 12-year-old, and we've, liked a TV show or a series, and then it goes down that road. And the thing is like you're saying, it's just age appropriate. It's like, what can they kind of digest and understand? And, at that point, whereas an adult, it's different. So,
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, we have 4 children, my husband and I, and parenting is hard. The world is hard. We have to manage social media. We have to manage their friend groups. We have so many things to manage, and to put that extra burden on a parent to say that you have to manage content. There are platforms that have children's content that is not suitable for children. So, you know, it's a sad day in American entertainment space when parents are subscribing to platforms that say, hey, this is family friendly, this is for your kids. They're working, they're Zoom calling, they're doing whatever they're doing, and then their kids are being exposed or indoctrinated to something. So we're trying to counter that. But yeah, that's pretty much, my position is that entertainment really drives the culture, and we're creating a culture where our kids are exposed to things that are just not age appropriate. If it's stamped, PG-13 or rated R, we really know what our kids are getting, but they're not necessarily doing that in animation. And when you see an animation, you're thinking, oh, it's for a kid. And then you watch it and it's confusing because it's not.
right, it's something completely different. And I know, so you created We the Studios. I know you had Castaway Studio before that, correct?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I started my career at Castaway Studios as an assistant.
Okay.
I was excited to have a turquoise blue iMac, if you remember those first ones that came out. It was so cool because you couldn't get them. It was like a regular person could not get them, especially living in Los Angeles at the time. So I had the purple turquoise iMac, and I just worked my way up from the bottom, became the general manager of Castaway Studios, ultimately the controller, and then ultimately was headhunted by another studio to do it all over again. And by this point, technology had changed, and I was able to look at the advances in technology and apply them to a new studio. When you're starting something new, it's easier to make changes from the beginning. It's like building a new house with a modern floor plan versus renovating an old house. So I was able to build another cutting edge studio for the second time in my career. And my time at exclusive casting studios was really unique because I was approached by the network E to do a reality show on myself and my business. And that really opened my eyes to reality TV, because the moment that E came in our offices till we were on air was about 10 weeks, which is really fast. When you look at a feature film, could take 5 years plus. So it's a really, really fast to market. Check in hand, we were paid for the sizzle tape, we were paid for the pilot. And that was like my light bulb moment. I was like, okay, I've kind of reached the top of my field in casting. I've kind of done everything I could possibly do. I've worked with every major brand from Lady Gaga, J Lo to Mercedes, everything you could imagine, Old Navy. What's next for me? And it was reality TV. So that's really how I got started in it, was being on it myself and then transitioning as a producer. I like being behind the camera as a producer.
Right. So you don't like the in front of the scenes too much, or not as much.
I'm Unless I get to talk about my business and how amazing it is, and my knowledge and that I've learned in Hollywood. But I really do excel at finding good talent, and when I find talent, pulling the talent out of them and making that movie magic, they like to say, right? So I really just enjoy that. I've directed myself in scenes in the past, and it's great. But I love finding raw talent and just watching them grow and turn into something really magical.
So now you have We the Studio, and so can you tell me a little bit of background on that and like maybe how that got started and some of the ways you're trying to change the entertainment scene?
Yeah, so I took a little hiatus from Hollywood. I was focusing on raising our little ones, and our youngest was 5 at the time, and I just felt like he's in school full time, and COVID is over and all of these things. I really want to get back to work. I still maintain my representation in Los Angeles that represented me for my reality show and other projects as a producer. And he just said, Cara, you can't sell TV shows. You're white, you don't have a pronoun. And, there's mandates for these networks and they want, an Aborigines transgender girl that, has this tragic background. And he's like, it's just not a good fit for you. And I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I really want to go back to work. This is all that I know how to do. And he's like, well, you have to start your own network. And I'm like, okay. So I just started building it out, looking what does it take to build a network out? How much money does it take? What is the technology involved? And I went to my husband and I said, we're entrepreneurs, so it's nothing. It's very common for us to start a business. We've started multiple in the past. I said, I really, really want to do this. I think we could do this on our own. And he's like, what do you need? Gave him a presentation. He's like, all right, let's do it. So we built this We the Studios out over the last 2 years, essentially secretively, because we didn't want anyone to know what we were doing, what our niche was, and kind of, everybody was under NDA. We were casting talent, we were writing shows, we were optioning content. We kind of did this all in the dark of night. And what was unique, because most people on social media, you take a picture with them or they, post me, tag me. And we were saying the opposite when we were, taking our talent out or doing deals. We're like, don't take a picture with us. Don't follow us on social media. Don't post us, because we didn't want anyone to know what was going on. So when we launched the brand and told the world what we were doing last July, every media outlet that contacted us was like, how did we not know? Because we know people involved. And we said everybody was under NDA. And we said, don't follow us. And, since then, we've just really just been climbing this wave and built the studio out. We have 5 shows currently on the platform. We're in production on 3 more and currently casting for more talent. So we're just very focused on story and character. So if we find a character, we have to see if there's a story. If we find a story, we have to see if there's a character. And if we find those two, we're going to create a TV series behind them. And that's essentially what we're doing at We the Studios.
So that's amazing. So you're mainly doing, so these are TV shows that you're producing?
Yes. So we have micro budgets. So you have the mega budgets, the $300 million budgets. And then you have what we're doing, which is the micro budgets. And we're focusing on stories and characters. So everything is in the reality space. It's the fastest way to market. That's what I learned in my first soiree into the TV world, is that, I could write a film. And like, if you hear about, stuff that other conservative studios are working on, they had the film on the shelf for 5 years, or it took them 7 years to raise the money. Time is money for me, and I want to get my product to market and start having that impact on culture immediately. So the fastest way to market for me, from my perspective, is reality TV. So when I find talent, we start developing the talent if they have the character and story. And that's pretty much what we're doing. We're in constantly casting for talent and constant production. I mean, it is like a hamster wheel it's really never stopping.
That's pretty cool though. And especially now, I mean, I guess we can kind of talk about that a little bit. So, also we had the elections, Trump, becoming president, that has changed things a lot for everybody in various ways. And have you seen that help you progress in your company as far as the changes that?
Yes. Actually, it's really, really interesting because election night, we saw a spike in subscriptions for We the Studios. And we've just kind of had this really nice upwards trend, not these crazy spikes, but these really nice trends. And I mean, it was just like a straight up spike. So we're like, okay, is there something to it? Maybe it's a coincidence. We had some really good content that day. Maybe a lot of people were watching. And then Inauguration Day, it happened again. And since Inauguration Day, it's almost like we have been rubber stamped. It is okay to watch TV for normal people. It is okay to watch value driven entertainment, and it is okay to support brands like ours. So for us at We the Studios, and we had a lot of people ask that, like, if you have a different president, how are you going to proceed? What brands will align with you? And now it's, the people that were kind of not sure about working with us, they're all calling us. We're all working together, and all of our ships are rising together. So I think the future has been bright for We the Studios, but it just got a whole lot brighter. Golden era for sure.
with that. And so, what are some of the ways that you're challenging the conventional norms? We kind of talked about it a little bit in television. So, what are some of the things you're doing?
So I think the biggest thing that we're doing is we don't cast in DEI. I'm not casting a character because of the color of their skin, where they live, or their gender. And it's really funny because a major publication, and I really want to release it someday, but it was mostly friendly when we asked them if they wanted to do an interview, and they said we would, but this is, you say you're non woke, but this is woke. And we said, well, why are, how is this contradict? How do you see us as woke? And he said, well, you have 4 African American kids in one of your shows. And he could not possibly understand that we cast this family off of talent. His perspective is we cast them because we wanted African American kids on our platform. And it was like, oh my, he couldn't get it. And it was a really nice, he wasn't vicious like some reporters could be crazy. But we cast based upon talent, which is something Hollywood isn't doing. You see, like, the remake of Ghostbusters with a whole bunch of women. It didn't work because you can't just cast women because it's cool or whatever that weird situation is that they're trying to program us. Nobody wants to see that. People want to see real stories, real characters with real talent. So we are casting based upon talent, character, and story. The other really neat thing that we're doing is we're actually putting all of the money on the screen. We're not sitting here hiring, 35 assistants so I could feel super important about myself and show up eating caviar all day long. Everybody gets their hands dirty. I'm on set carrying equipment. Even though I produce and direct, I'll still take a lunch order if we're between scenes. We have really built a family at We the Studios. There's really no hierarchy. We're kind of all on the same page. Everybody wants to see this thing work, and everybody just continually rolls up their sleeves. So that's really unique for Hollywood, because it'll be like, well, that water spill, that ain't my job. I'm not interested in doing that. And I think the coolest thing of all is all of our talent supports each other. So if you're used to seeing other streaming platforms, they may have a flagship show here with that talent, and they're only going to promote that show, and they're only going to promote themselves. We the Studios, we operate differently. If I have a series, Raising Reynolds, we promote them, they promote themselves. But then my other series, Kitchen Fight, also promotes Raising Reynolds. So all of us really do kind of work together, which really works out well for our sponsors, because you're not just getting that one series that you're sponsoring, you're getting all of the other series that are working together. So it really is, we call it family, We the Studios family text chain. There's 30 something of us on there, and it's really a family that we built at We the Studios. It's growing every day. So that's really cool.
That is amazing because, yeah, you don't see that. Usually it's kind of like a dog eat dog type thing, but yeah, to support each other in the situation. That is
Our
good.
screen time, we've had people say, like, in the past, she had 2 minutes and 26 seconds and I had 2 minutes and 18 seconds. And it's like, that's not at all what we're creating here. But again, casting on talent and character and looking at who people are really makes a big difference, because if they have a good story that lends to a good character, they're not going to operate in that fashion. And that really does come through the screen. And I think our audience could kind of see the kind of people that we're putting in front of them.
And I know we kind of talked a little bit about it, but so the productions you're working on, so those some of the productions that are going on now. What do you have in the works? Are there anything that you have in the forecasted future?
Definitely. So we're in pre-production on season 2 of Raising Reynolds.
Yeah.
That is our family with the 4 African American children. They're actually biracial, living in Kentucky. We are currently in I guess you would call it season 2 of Super Influencer, and that's highlighting the lives of people that are influencers currently on the internet, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or wherever their platform may be. We are in pre-production on a show called Batgirl Lola. This is essentially the world's first reality show on a really focus on the child as the main character, and then her family is a supportive role. And this little girl is 11 years old. She's a dancer, a singer. She plays the piano. She plays the guitar. She's a big sister. I mean, this kid is everything. And she's the real reason we wanted to do a series like this and work with kids, because it's very complex working with kids as your main star versus, supportive cast, is we have a real opportunity to give a role model to our daughters of our country. And I know this is the gift that I have, that we found this beautiful girl and her family, and we're investing, full speed ahead with this family, because our nation's daughters, they need girls to look up to, and it doesn't necessarily need to be, who could we think of? Who are they pointing to right now? The Kardashians, Cardi B, people that just have expensive purses. There needs to be more, and that series, That Girl Lola, it's really going to be something special. It's going to be amazing. We also have another series with Jimmy Levy that we're in pre-production, actually pre and post-production on, because we're wrapping up season 1 and we're going to be going into season 2. And Jimmy Levy had a series. He was an American Idol, and his testimony is really unique. Is an opportunity, a $15 million deal that he walked away from in Hollywood for value-driven reasons that didn't resonate with who he was as a human that he was turning into. And just his story, being an independent artist, Billboard charting artist, millions and millions of followers online. So we're following him and his family as well.
Well, that's wonderful, because I mean, that takes a lot of, I know, I was, somewhat in that industry, and being able to walk away from something, but inside that it's like goes against what you believe or whatever. But still, when there's a lot of money on the line like that, it's very, that takes a lot. So,
It's
but
complicated. Yeah. So everybody has, our network mandate, unlike other streaming platforms, where it's skin color based and sexual orientation, it's to educate and inspire. So it has to be one of the two or both, for us to even consider working with you. And then obviously character and story. But everything that we do, we want our customers to watch our show, our subscribers, and feel good and just kind of escape the world in which we live, right? Because it's all of us have challenges and stressful days and stressful lives, and we can only consume so many politics, right? So it's really nice for us to have a place, and then it's safe for your kids to watch too, right? So your husband could watch it, your friend could watch it, but then your kids could watch it too.
no, it sounds great. Now, if people want to know more, or now, where would we view this? Like, where would we find more information or be able to see some of these shows?
So you can go to wethestudios.com, like we the people, but we the studios with an S.com. And top right corner, you can sign up and subscribe. The whole year is $17. I'm sorry, until July 4th, it's $17.76. However, for your viewers, if you use code Cara, you'll have 10% off, CARA. And then you will go to whichever device you have, Apple, the Apple App Store, and download the app and consume it on your handheld device, laptop, iPad, whatever it is. You could also do the same thing on the Google Play Store and consume it on your handheld device as well. We will be on Smart TV, which we have behind us. I'm in the casting office, by the way, today. The sound stages are being used.
Okay, awesome.
You can go in the Google Play Store and download it there, and we'll be on the Smart TV middle of the year.
Oh, that's perfect. I'm going to definitely check it out. So and my daughter too. So I look forward to seeing some of these shows, and I hope you guys have a lot of success moving forward. I hope you can come back again too and talk
Yes,
with us. That'd be great to see how things are going, maybe in a couple months.
definitely. We'll bring some of our stars with us next time too. Little
Oh,
on-set
definitely.
action.
Yes, yes, please do. Well,
Absolutely.
thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Have a good one.